Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining me today at the Westpac Digital Smarts session. I'm Helen Ryder. I'm Head of Business Connect at Westpac. But what does that mean? It's a pretty flash title. The majority of what my team does is look after small business customers with anything from day-to-day banking requests through to more complex lending. So we have conversations with businesses just like yours every day. And firstly, I want to say well done for making it here today. My husband is a electrician, and so I do know how very hard it is to find time to work on your business rather than in it. So well done. And we were just looking through some of the names, and there's such a huge variety of businesses with us today, which is amazing. We're very excited at all the variety. I'll try and only mention the C word once today, but I think COVID has really meant that we've had to, digital presence has just become so much more important than it's ever been. And businesses have been really forced to adapt. And those that have often surprised themselves with just how successful those changes have been. And if I think about an example close to home for me, I've been stoked to continue getting my favourite poke bowl for lunch, even though I'm working from home a lot of the time. So that business has adapted and gone where its customers are, which has been amazing. So I think digital technology presents so many opportunities to actually make being in business a lot easier. But if your inbox is anything like mine, then every couple of days you're probably getting something new, and it can be really hard to know, what do I focus on first? Where do I start? So to help businesses build some more confidence with technology, Westpac's partnered as part of the Digital Boost Alliance, Aotearoa. And what this is getting businesses from across New Zealand, quite large businesses, banks, Xero, Microsoft, Google, together with government, with the sole purpose of really helping businesses, particularly small businesses, lift their confidence with digital. So I think it's a great initiative, and if you haven't already checked out the Digital Boost website, then it's worth a look. There's some training content on there, and it's particularly good if you're just starting out on your digital journey. This is a good place to start. So it's probably worth just clearing up what we mean by digital, because it means lots of different things. But we're talking about the tools and technology that your business could use to make things a bit more productive, save money, maybe access a whole lot of different customers in a different channel, and also make your business safer, because I think if we're all honest with ourselves, we probably don't spend as much time on things like security as we should. A bit boring sometimes, but very important. So I think all of these things combined really help to boost the bottom line of a business and make us more profitable. But digital transformation is not just about those apps, tools, technology. It's also about the skills and knowledge that we build, both for ourselves, but also for the people that work with us in our business as well, so that we're all on the same page. So as part of our commitment to the Digital Boost initiative, Westpac wanted to do something that was quite practical. We can run webinars till the cows come home, but we think there's real value in working more closely with businesses to really embed some of that knowledge and apply it to your own business. So we've partnered with another small business, Digital Journey, and we're really excited about this partnership because Digital Journey, we think, is a really special business. The core of what they do is helping small businesses, but they're also a certified social enterprise, and that means that they spend quite a lot of their time as well just helping communities and schools lift their digital knowledge. So we thought that was a great fit with Westpac, as we're all about community as well. They've worked with over 18,000 organisations over the years, and so they really know their stuff. And what's super exciting today is that we're launching the Westpac Digital Smarts program straight after this session. And that means that 100 of you will have the opportunity to work with the team at Digital Journey one-on-one, and that will be funded by Westpac. And it's a pretty cool initiative, so we'll talk a bit more about that as we go through the session today. Right, so we're going to hear from two fantastic speakers. We've got Claudia Batten with us today, and Stuart Dillon-Roberts. We're really thrilled to have Claudia. She is a New Zealand tech entrepreneur. She's founded 2 successful startups and sold them, which is probably things we all dream about. And then she's on to her 3rd. So, but the thing that's really impressed me about Claudia, as I've chatted to her, is just how passionate she is about the small business sector, and just how willingly she gives her time and her knowledge and shares her insights with businesses that are on a similar journey as well. In addition to this, she's a bit of a superwoman. She's also the digital advisor to the Westpac New Zealand board as well, which I think shows that even when you're a large business, when it comes to digital transformation, you need to seek help from the experts as well. So she's going to share with us a little bit later her thoughts on why digital really matters to small business, her experience and background, and then what I'm keen to hear, some real tips to help us all stop procrastinating and just get started. And then we'll pass to Stuart, who is the founder and general manager of Digital Journey, the company we were talking about earlier. And as you heard, Stuart and his team are the absolute gurus when it comes to working with small business. No pressure, Stuart. And Stuart's going to talk a bit today about the tools that small business might want to consider, and he's going to give us also some insight into the Digital Smarts program and the kind of topics that will be covered as that. So we'll just have a little bit of housekeeping. On your screen on the right, there should be a box there for you to pop questions into. Please, anything that you want to ask, just go ahead and put it in there. And there's no such thing as a silly question because, you can bet if you're thinking about something, then someone else on this call is probably having similar thoughts. So let's just get it up there. There's probably an anonymous function if you really need it as well. So first up, Claudia, thank you for joining us today. Fantastic to have you here with us, and you've had just some amazing success with business. And I'm just keen if you can tell us a bit about your story and particularly how digital has helped you succeed.
Sure. Kia ora, morena. It's so great to be here today. We were kind of reading through some of the companies that have joined today. So I'm very excited about all of you being here. There are some brilliant New Zealand businesses, some small, some not so small, and some like to be really big in the future. I'm very, very sure of it. There's a little bit of background noise, which I don't think is coming from me. So I think one of us is on mute that wants to mute themselves. Speaking of housekeeping. So I may be one of the few people who do spend a lot of time on cybersecurity, is the first thing I'll say to Helen's point. And I think that I'll just mention that as something that's really important that I need to be on top of. And so I actually find it super interesting. And, I think my general point here would be to be curious about what is going on and what is important and lean into some of these things, because they can seem like really kind of not in your day-to-day, not something that you want to spend time on, but there are a lot of things that are circling, and the more curious you get about that and the more you participate in the digital world, I think the more you'll get out of it. So my biggest point today is just going to be not to be afraid of digital, not to feel like, oh, that's for other people or that's for the young person that I hire. Like, get really into it. It is fun, I promise. I'm not a boring person. I have a giraffe in my office, and I get excited about all these kind of seemingly nerdy, geeky things. So you can too. So on that point, why am I oriented to this way of thinking, way of being? I was reflecting on this a little bit, and the bottom line for me is I got a computer at a pretty young age, and then in uni I got a laptop, and then a mobile phone, and this was like before that was normal. As young as I look, I've been around a few years. You're all welcome to tell me I look young, by the way. And so I had these pieces of equipment at a really young age before a lot of other people got them, and I could see the power up that they gave me. I could see that I could pump stuff up, I could edit things. This is back in the day where we used the typewriter, right? And then we got computers and stuff, and the computer was cool, but that was at my house. And so the laptop and the mobile phone enabled me to kind of be anywhere doing whatever I needed to be doing. So I think really early on in my, learning, I could see that these things allowed me to go faster, and I was super curious about them. And I think that combo, speaking of not being intimidated by this area, that combo of being really curious and knowing that when you lean into these things, they can help you go faster. I think those two things are really what have fueled me and fueled kind of my career. And so then the first year of at Russell McVeigh, I was a lawyer back in the day. And the first year I was there, they rolled out laptops to everyone, in the office. And you could then see the productivity and the power up that this did, not just for me, but for an entire enterprise. And so this is just like super fueled the way I think, this concept that technology can unleash business potential. And that, I would say, has just been my philosophy as I've kind of gone through my career, squiggled, as I like to say, through my career. So I left law after just over 4 years, and I moved to New York without a job. Wouldn't overly recommend that, but I made it work. But it wasn't the easiest thing in the world. And I ended up being part of a startup called Massive. We put advertising in video games, and we were the first to kind of pioneer this new way of thinking about a media buy. So it didn't just need to be that you were buying, you were buying internet ads. There were other ways of buying digital media. And so that was my first company. We sold that to Microsoft. And then from there, I actually moved to Boulder, Colorado, and met a fellow entrepreneur, and we started Victors and Spoils. And that was a platform that delivered advertising through crowdsourcing. So unleashing the potential of like anyone, anywhere to help us deliver on our advertising briefs for our clients. And so really with both of those businesses, they were, we used tech in the business, and we were also delivering a technology solution, right? So it was like a double benefit in the way we did it. But I could see, working with all our customers, what our solution could bring to them. So in the video game industry back then, they were really struggling for revenue, and advertising delivered them this brand new revenue line item, which was really, really useful for the business. Gaming's doing really well now, so arguably they don't need that as much as they did back then, but it was a pretty big deal at the time. And then with Victors and Spoils, we were delivering a much better cost price advertising solution. So a lot of people came to us, for our ideas. The ideation was substantially better because we were going out to almost non-advertising people, and certainly people who weren't stuck in the potential group think that can come from inside of an agency. So we were delivering much better creative ideation at a much better price point because we didn't have to have all of those people in our business. We weren't paying them full-time salaries. And so the way I've started thinking about tech too, as this is useful for you guys, is I feel like we're all either naturally oriented to writing or to numbers. Like we might be really decent at both of them, but one of them will be natural to us and the other will be a bit more of a learned skill. And I think about the same thing with technology as this is useful. Like you're either a statistics person or a calculus person. So I'm way more statistics. And I think that inclines me more to software because it's much more about pattern recognition. And it's much more kind of, it's a bit broader based and it's a bit higher level. I've always struggled with actual pure tech, like building hardware and architecture, because that for me is more of a broader brain, calculus kind of brain. And so I thought I might share that with you because you might feel a bit more intimidated around architecture and in actual technology, but this might allow you to open up and think a little bit differently about software. They're kind of different. So my encouragement would be for you to figure out where you sit naturally. So for me, I love software and I really love the way digital media works. And I can think about that really well until it gets into the back end and start architecting that. And then I have to really think hard, much like I have to think really hard about numbers because I'm a natural writer. So I thought I'd share that in case it's useful because, again, the intimidation factor can happen when you're just looking at the universe. And so trying to think about it in buckets I thought might be useful. So Apparently I'm going to get a 5-minute warning, so I'm just going to generally watch my screens and keep talking until somebody waves at me furiously. So I thought I'd share some of the software that I think has, or some of the changes, I should say, that have really opened up and redefined certainly my universe. And I think cloud is probably the biggest one. We had a whole lot of servers set up within Victors and Spoils, and it was, and even a massive, and we had a huge amount of issues as a result of that. So cloud is one of the things that I think's unleashed business on a substantial level. And really the way I think about that is just availability. It's just allow businesses to go faster and be almost bigger before they are that size. So just as that's useful, as you've heard about cloud, you may be, using it, but not really understand it. There's just been this massive leap in that area. And the reason I guess I share that is watch for these moments, because there will be moments where there are these big shifts. And by you just being curious about it and talking to people, you might hear about a move towards XYZ. Start investigating that, because it could be something that might really be leverageable for your business and really get you going faster earlier. The other big one for me has been Google Docs, which might be a bit odd. I think I've got about 4 Google Doc tabs open right now. The collaboration that you can get off of Google Docs is just next level. And I know there are a lot of other things out there now that do this, but Google Docs is so simple, and it really allows you to work anywhere with your team in a really simple, cost-effective way. And I'm a massive, massive fan of that. I kind of run a part of my life on Google Docs, if I'm honest. Xero and MYOB and other similar accounting software, I think, is phenomenal for small business. They really have a lot of automation that sits in behind what they're doing. And I'm sure you're all using these things, but I bet you there's more power you can get out of them. So having conversations with other small businesses or with them about what else can I do here might just really remove hours from your week/month in terms of accounting. Digital and virtual assistants, I think, are phenomenal, and I think they're underused. And there are some phenomenal ones around in New Zealand, and there are incredible ones offshore. And it bubbles up into the bigger topic of crowdsourcing, which I mentioned earlier. Effectively, what crowdsourcing allows you to do is work with anyone, anywhere. And so you could tap into talent anywhere on the globe who might really be able to help you think about your business, and they don't need to be in your backyard. Like, we can move beyond feeling like that person needs to be next door and I need to sit down and have meetings with them. And it may be a lot more cost effective for you to use someone remotely as well. I think that's a huge source of power. Zoom and Skype back in the day, I know we're all sick of it, but what it's done is allowed us to, again, leverage international communication in a way that, just literally never used to exist or existed, via phone, which just didn't deliver the same thing. And I'll come back to that in a minute. And then the smartphone, yay, the smartphone. I remember getting one, 2007, and it changed my life. And we all need to learn when to put it down, when to pick it up, and how to use it. It's a tool. It's not a binky. It's not like our blankie from when we were kids. But the smartphone, working anywhere, anytime, the ability to do that through the smartphone is just, it was a game changer back in the day. I also am a massive fan of Trello for to-do lists. I'm super oriented to productivity, and I find that there's just so many, we can get so overwhelmed by how much we have to do. And Trello just allows you to do kind of a Kanban style. You may not have heard of that, but it's just basically fancy lists where you put one massive list of all of the stuff that you think you need to do in the known, in your existence, and then move things over to, this is for today, this is for this week, and that list can just sit over there and I can worry about it later. Really nice tool for collaborating as well. So if you're working in teams, you can do some really nice work with Trello on Teams. I'm also obsessed with Evernote. It's basically a place where I dump, anything that I need to store and have access to. I use it for absolutely everything from work to personal, all my notes. Like, if it went down, I would be curled up in the corner with a bottle of wine for sure. So it's a great and powerful tool. And then I use Squarespace and MailChimp for my website and my mailing list. There are other really good ones out there as well, but those are ones that I use. I've had good success with them. Squarespace does my head in from time to time. It's not as easy as it should be, but it works. It works well. So, there's that. All of these things, they're all great. They're all amazing. I use them all. Yay. They all come at a cost. And the cost of that is this massive drag on our life / distraction if we don't use them well. So one of the other really big points I want to make today is that you have to use them. Don't let them use you. And email is one of the best examples where we can just wake up in the morning and get obsessed with email and just do whatever's in our inbox and forget what's really important, what's going to really power us up. And I think that every day, and as you can step out of the business even for an hour and just think about it, we need to be looking at what is the biggest rock that I need to accomplish today? What is the biggest thing? What is the biggest boulder that I need to move that will have the biggest impact on my business? If you can step back and make time to think about that, and then use people like Stuart and his team, make time to talk with other people about what they're using, what's having impact for them, or even step out and go and look at your competitors. What are they doing well? What could you do better? Every time you can do that, and then think about how to use all of these tools to power you up. Turn your phone off. Don't answer the phone the minute it calls necessarily. Okay, maybe you need to do that if it's going to be a customer, but even outsourcing some of those calls to somebody else, give yourself space, because otherwise you just get stuck in the day-to-day and the rats and mice, and you never get the time to really think about how to scale your business, and frankly, how to give you some time back, because we all know that running a small business is a 24/7 job and it's exhausting. And we want to give you a little bit of time. That's really what your aim should be, and do it in a profitable way. The way to do that is make little bits of time to step back and make these smart decisions about how to use tech as an enabler to power up your business. So I'm a massive fan of talking to other people, massive fan of getting curious, and a massive fan of removing stuff to create. You've got to, make time to find the space that you should be moving towards. My few areas that I would suggest you think about, especially after I heard the businesses that are joining today, I think that New Zealand needs to lift its game around our use of social online e-commerce presence. It's noticeable for me. I've just moved back from the US. It's noticeable to me that pricing's not available online. Information's typically not available online. A lot of the time, I don't even know about your companies. So work on your online presence. Think hard about your e-commerce and how you're delivering that. Work on your search engine optimization. Get someone in to help you with that, and test it. Keep testing. Come in from every angle. Test it on your mobile phone. Test it on your iPad. Test it on your computer. Test it on your mate's computer, because they'll probably have a different computer. Really think about how are customers accessing me digitally, because we've moved away from, walking into the store to buy our Pokeball, and we're now in a place where we're looking online for who's selling the best Pokeball, who's been reviewed as having the best Pokeball in wherever I am, because I'm traveling and I'm in Taranaki and I want to get a Pokeball here. Really think about this stuff, because it's going to absolutely drive customers to you. The other area that I want to encourage you to think about is online content. And, yes, there are a lot of webinars, but that didn't exist 2 years ago. There's just this fountain of incredible information from New Zealand and the rest of the world that exists online now that didn't used to. You can get massive amounts of information from that, and really think about who's doing it the best in the US, let alone who's doing it the best in New Zealand and Australia, and then emulating that. Remote work, I think, is a massive power up. So be it using crowdsourcing, digital assistants, or people in a flexible, if they're in Invercargill and you're in Auckland, if they're the best, use them and figure out how to do remote working, because it's really available to us now, and it will deliver huge gains for you. And the other one, speaking of, going back to my Zoom comment, I think that's my warning, and I'm about to close off. going back to my Zoom comment, network through Zoom. We do not have to meet for coffee chats. There are people you can talk to literally around the world who are open to this now, who love Kiwis and love the Kiwi accent. Use that to build your networks. It doesn't just have to be within, the universe that you physically exist. So those are a few thoughts and ideas about where you could take things. Stuart's going to dive deeper again. His team do great digital audits, and they'll kind of talk with you about, how to think about where you can go with your business, where the biggest impact could be for your business, and, what you could really work on to improve. And I'm a massive fan of really standing back and going, what are the areas that I can really dive into that will have the biggest impact for my business, versus feeling like you need to do everything tomorrow, because you really don't, and you won't be able to do that either. So get really targeted, get really focused, and give yourself a bit of time and space to learn these things, because the more you learn them, the better that they will work for you. So
thank you, Claudia. So many amazing tips, and I know I was furiously scribbling down a lot of those things you were mentioning, and there's some questions coming through wanting some more detail. So really interesting topic, and I liked what you said about being curious and technology unleashing the potential of business, and I wish we'd thought of that as a tagline a bit earlier, because I think that is so true. We're going to skip to Stuart now, and as I said earlier, we're super excited to be partnering with Digital Journey. They've worked with thousands of businesses. So Stuart, you would have seen what's worked, what hasn't worked so well. So if you can start by telling us a bit about what do you see small businesses struggling with the most when it comes to digital?
Sure. Well, thank you. This is an exciting initiative, and we're really thrilled to be part of this. So I think that when you've wrapped these different parcels of information together, you thought about your online presence, and Claudia mentioned this too as well. And getting that right is really critical nowadays. I mean, people judge your business by seeing what they see online now. So getting that right and making time and effort to keep it right is really important. I'm going to cover that a little bit more as well, about some of the tips around that as well. Productivity is this sort of unknown thing in some ways. We haven't really got down to detail on productivity. There's more information out there about marketing and social and all other things, but productivity is in the tools you can use there. I think is an untapped area that we're not really pushing that hard, and I think there's some really exciting things happening in that space. I'm going to touch on that a little bit as well. And cybersecurity too, I mentioned that too as well. My favourite topic, and I'm pleased everyone was supportive of that as well, because I think cybersecurity is super critical. And of course, it's always an afterthought, isn't it, cybersecurity? We always get those phone calls, hey, can you help us? After something's happened, rather than beforehand. So that's the 3 sessions that we're running with Westpac, and it's really exciting because we actually go into detail, and it's very pragmatic. So it's about talking through your business, doing a review of your business, seeing how you are today, and what we can do to improve it. So a bit of a quick run through from a high level, but in digital marketing, I want to cover that one first, in online presence. I think from a business point of view right now, particularly over the last couple of years with the COVID thing, there's been so much pressure and beat up about, improving e-commerce, doing social media campaigns, doing email marketing, getting a video of your founders. All these things are being pushed and pushed and pushed. And I think it's just time to sort of sit back a little bit and say, right, let's just have a little think about our customers now. Put yourself in the shoes of your customers and go through a process of what they will do to find you as a business and what their first impressions are when they first see you online. So we always do that in our review process. We sit back and think, okay, we're going to search for the electrical engineering business, Helen, and we're going to search for them online, see what comes up in the search criteria. Is the business that you run, is it appearing well? Does your Google profile look good? Is it saying what you need to say to the customer? And are you helping them make a decision about you? And also, at the same time, what are your competitors doing? What are they doing better than you? And if you can learn from them, you need to adjust your business too as well. So in our digital review process, online presence review, we actually go through those steps of looking how the search appears. And then, of course, you then land on your website. And as Claudia mentioned, it's really important to have that content right to make it easy for a business to make a decision. You've only got a few seconds before they switch off. So if they arrive on your website and the information's there, it's easy to understand. There's a big button there to say buy now or click here for more information or book my services. That's what you need to do to get that right. So I think that's one thing I'd like to share today is put yourself in your customer's shoes and go through that sort of type process. And we certainly do that in our online presence review and give you a report there with some tips and tricks. The other thing I'd like to say on that is that also make sure that when you do have your presence right, make sure it works well. There's nothing worse than going to a site that the button doesn't quite work, or the contact form doesn't work there, or you went to click on a link and it doesn't work as well. So it's really important that you are your best online. And so make your site the best it can possibly be. We use this really cool tool. It's a free tool. I love free tools. We always love free tools, right? Because that's in our businesses have got pressure on money. We use a tool called Responsinator. Now, it isn't sponsored by Marvel. It actually is a tool called Responsinator. And that lets your website look what it looks like. It shows you what it looks like when it comes to things like an iPad in portrait landscape, a smartphone, and so on. So it's a good little chance to have a look and see how it appears online. And trust me, it's been so many times we're doing these coaching sessions that we found the website that the buy now button is hidden by the cookies pop-up, or the link here doesn't quite work on mobile and you can't read it. And of course, if a customer sees that, they've gone somewhere else, right? You've lost that possible engagement. So we use all these free tools just to see how you look online and see if we can make some adjustments. Okay, so that's the sort of online presence stuff that we do. Productivity is really about using some of the tools well. There's so many tools out there. You know, it's an explosion over the last few years. And Claudia mentioned a few that are my favorites too as well. But I think there's a little bit of a super apps coming as well in the market. So we're seeing these bigger players like the Microsoft, the Googles, the ClickUps and so on, who are slowly ticking off all the people who specialize in certain tools. So I quite like looking at a higher level and saying, if you are using maybe 7 or 8 tools in different parts of your business, from the sales, the customer engagement, the customer management, the booking system and so on, can we bring it into one to save you money? But secondly, it then makes it a lot more easy to integrate as well. So we go through a process of walking through a typical business operations and seeing all the tools you're using and seeing if there's ones out there that possibly can be all brought together into like a super app. So that's one area we look at in the productivity part. The second part we look at is there's been this massive glue between different products now as well. For years, it used to be financial over here and time recording over here, and then there'll be a mail system over here and then a website over here. Well, now you can link them all together through great tools like Zapier, which is a way to interconnect different products and so on. We love this tool. We use it all the time. So, for example, I have when we do a YouTube video, it's automatically posted to our Facebook feed. When we have an inquiry through our mail system, it goes into our customer management system. Now, that's all done without any technical skills. It's just a matter of connecting all the boxes in the background there. And if you don't use it that often, for a small number of connections, it's free of charge too as well. So we look in productivity around the business processes you have and see if we could fine tune them using some of these super apps and also using some of those integration tools as well. Now, I'm conscious of time, so I'll just skip to my favorite topic, cybersecurity. Now, everyone goes boring, right? And it is a little bit boring. And I actually have a background in this as well. I've been doing it since I first got my first IT job many years ago. And cybersecurity has changed so much. Oh my gosh. I think, first of all, it's worth saying, hands up to the IT sector, right? They've got better. So the IT sector has got better at protecting us now, right? And there are some far more enhanced systems out there to protect you as a business. But regardless of how clever IT can be, there's also this human factor, which is generally where I see most of the cybersecurity incidents occurring. So it's really important that you are proactive. And I recommend once a month, you put 1 hour in your diary to do a meeting with yourself to review your digital presence and your cybersecurity protection. Now, imagine this meeting, it's 1 hour per month, is as important as a brand new sale. So don't cancel it. Don't put it back to the following week. Book that time in your schedule and make sure it's always there. And use that time to maybe have a quick review of your online presence, but also your cybersecurity protections in place. And have you got what the basic requirements set up well? Now, what I'd expect most businesses to have nowadays is a good password management process, You can use password managers now that will simplify how you engage with different tools, and it stores the passwords safely. It's pretty important now to have two-factor authentication. Now, that sounds a bit techie, but in our cybersecurity review, we point you to a place that tells you all about that and tells you which tools out there actually provide this automatically and not. And that allows you a little bit of protection if your password gets compromised. And also, it's important to have a good auto updating of your software and good backups and a restoration process. So imagine if you were hit by a cybersecurity incident right now and you lost one of your core systems, what would be the process for you to restore that information? And would it rely on just one person to do that, or can your whole team do that instead? So we go through quite a good process in cybersecurity. Hopefully it's not as boring as everyone imagines. It's all about looking at what you do in your business through different parts of your access control, the security of your core systems, your privacy of your data and stuff like that as well. So lots of tips to share there as well if you choose that particular digital review session. So there's my summary of what we're doing. I'm looking forward to it. I'm so excited by this. So thank you again.
Amazing. Thank you, Stuart. I particularly like the idea of booking a meeting with yourself, because that's something that I do as well for those things that I know that I need to make time for, but the other things always take over. And you did make digital sound quite fun with things like, what was it, Responsinator and Super Apps. So yeah, it did sound fun. So I think what we'll do now is go to some questions, because there's some great questions coming through, and people just wanting a bit more detail on some of the tools that you've talked about as well. So Claudia, you mentioned the virtual assistant companies. There's a couple of questions there just asking, have you got any thoughts on the virtual assistants that you use, and can you give an example of how you would actually use it?
Yeah, sure. There's a ton of them out there, so I think I'm sure Stuart's got some recommendations, and I would just do a bit of searching. To be honest with you, there's a lot of them, and a lot of them specialize on different things. So the question of how do we use them is a really good one, because I think the first thing you want to think about is where could I get some real gains in my business. So one of them just could be that you've got someone funneling customer inquiries. You can line somebody up to with some FAQs, train them quickly on how to respond to customer inquiries, and get somebody rocking with something like that. Virtual assistant could literally be the 21-year-old at university at Otago that you know through your family. By the way, it doesn't have to be through an online software tool. Like it could just be tying into remote work. It could be that. There's all kinds of things. There's also like meetings schedulers that you can use. So you can just plot in, here are all my available times this month, and you can share that link and people can just book time in with you. So if you're charging, by the half-hour meeting, you could just have people schedule it that way. It's another way to think about a virtual assistant. So literally, I think, what is the thing that's taking my time that's quite a simple, repeatable process? It's this. So then go and see, okay, what virtual assistant / software could solve this problem for me?
Nice. Thank you. The next question is a technical one just about the spelling of Trello. And I think I've actually used Trello myself, and it's Trello. Is that correct? Yeah.
That's
spot on.
Fab. This is a great question from Rachel. You've both talked about lots of the useful tools, and just wondering, do you ever go through and edit the tools that you're using so that you make sure you're looking at new stuff and getting the benefits out of it?
All the time. The two things I would say on that, Stuart may have some additions. The first thing is I'm a big Marie Kondo your digital life person. So just as you clean out your cupboards, you want to be cleaning out all your digital stuff. So I do that quite regularly. The other thing I would say is I've kind of had magpie syndrome over a lot of new tools that come in, and I do go and look at them. I've always come back to Evernote and Trello, so in Google Docs for that matter. So I think it's good to be aware, but the time it would take to shift is often just not worth, and they're typically actually not that much better. I don't know, Stuart, what you think.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because I think that there's lots of those unique tools that have been around for a long time. Trello's been around for a long time, and Evernote has too as well. I mean, I've used them on and off for a period of time, but I think this whole thing around this super app thing is really interesting, and I think it's just really happened in the last 12 months. And that's like some of the bigger names who offer those type of services that are competing with Trello and so on. That if Trello stands out more and has that unique feature that your business needs, absolutely right to choose that decision. But possibly you could use something that's built into the Microsoft toolset or the Google toolset or the ClickUp toolset and so on that could save you using a third-party tool or another tool and bring it back into one system. And I think that whole super apps thing is really challenging in that market. So we definitely touch on that in the productivity part to see if there are opportunities to use those sort of things.
And there's another similar sort of question, just asking for a little bit more information about Evernote and what is it? Is it a separate program or an app? Or And I don't know either, so I'm glad someone else asked it.
Super quickly, the way I use Trello is literally for to-dos, and there's this whole, you may have heard of Sprint and Agile or Kanban, any one of those you may not have, it doesn't really matter. All Trello does for me is it's my master to-do lists, and then for various projects I have separate masters. So all it allows you to do is rack up all of the things that you need to get done and then organize them. I know that sounds like something you could do with paper and you probably could, but the really beautiful thing about this is it's on any device because it's in the cloud. And I think it really helps me not to get overwhelmed and just really think about what I need to get done.
Evernote's really interesting because that's one that is like you say, it's got that cloud-based integration. So one of the key things from the business point of view is that I used to keep notes on Post-it notes and pieces of paper in the past. And Evernote or OneNote's a Microsoft product equivalent. Yeah. It tells you in the morning, what you got to do that day. So your list is there. So we have a personal OneNote for the jobs I have to do at home, and have a business one which follows me around when it comes to what we've got to do that week. So rather than going to a meeting and taking notes on a piece of paper or on a diary or something else, I put them into OneNote, and then it reminds the team what we've got to do then in a shared environment of the tasks upcoming and stuff like that. So it's really Evernote and OneNote, they're all very, very clever systems in that sense. It really helps productivity, right?
That's exactly it. We could literally do a 45-minute on Evernote and Trello. I have no doubt. Evernote is actually for me. Trello has a ton of power-ups. You can actually use it quite powerfully. I use it quite simply. Evernote's the one I use as my main power-up, and I have everything. I'm just on the home screen right now. I have everything in there, from notes on all the companies I work with to travel ideas for when I'm booking a trip, to my latest yoga classes. My teacher teaches and sends out videos, to inspirational ideas, to my shopping list. I have it's in there, all organized by notebook. So, if you want to think about Evernote, it's like having 20, notebooks all digitally online, and you can enter notes onto whatever notebook you want to. It's kind of actually how it's set up.
Got to get into this. Sounds good.
Life changing.
Now we've just got time for one final question. And Stuart, there's a couple of people just asking, what was the app that you were talking about that you linked your CRM and online inquiries that was free if you only had
that was I use Zapier, so Zapier. It's a integration tool. There's a few out there. Microsoft got their own one as well, and it depends on what tools you have in your business, but Zapier is pretty good. I think it's got 40,000 connections, so it's taken away all that technical stuff. In the day, it used to be application A glued to application B, and there'll be some clever tech people in the background doing that stuff now. It's opened up the whole connection. So Xero is in there. So Xero can link to your sales e-commerce platform. So we did this only last week with a business we were helping, and sales came through from their sales platform for the e-commerce site, and it generated the invoice into Xero automatically as well. So there's all kinds of plugins you could look at from there. My favorite one, I've got to say my favorite one, and that is I have two calendars, a Google Calendar and a Microsoft Calendar. And the Zapier connects my Microsoft Calendar to my Google Calendar. So I get a meeting in here, it syncs to that one, so they're both running at the same time. I love that one. That's my fave.
Now, we do have one more question, but I think it's about how to get a digital audit. So I'm going to actually cover a bit of this in the next few comments I make. So we'll carry on. Thank you both for those fabulous answers, and I've learned a lot as well. So following this session, applications are going to be open for the Westpac Digital Smarts program. So everyone that's registered for the session today will receive an email following this session, and there's a link in there to a really simple online form. Literally will take you 5 minutes. Really simple questions. We're not asking you to go through any complicated application process or anything for this. Or the email address to go to will be up on the screen at the end of this session as well, which is around Digital Smarts. So once we've got all those applications, they're open until the 15th of May. So you've got a few days to sort it out. We'll be randomly selecting 100 customers who actually win 8 hours of one-on-one digital advisory services working with Stuart and the team at Digital Journey. So a really decent amount of time that will allow you to get stuck into some of those things that Stuart's been talking about today. And their advice, as you've heard, is really personalised. They're really independent. They don't sell any of this stuff themselves. They're really just interested in working with you and your business and coming up with hopefully 1 or 2 gems, like some of those things that you've mentioned, that will really help make a difference to your business. So look, I appreciate running a small business, really complicated, and there's lots of things to think about, not just digital, but I think this particular topic is just moving so fast that we've all got to be so nimble and adaptable, but have our eyes up on the horizon and looking at what's coming and just understanding what's possible really for our businesses. So thank you, Stuart and Claudia. You've been amazing today, and I've learned so much myself, and I hope everyone that's dialed into the session today has really enjoyed it. And we'd love to hear your feedback as well on today's session, but also any other ideas you've got for topics that you might want to hear a bit more about that will help you with your business. And there's a little poll up on the screen there to your right. So if you can take a few moments to complete that, that would be fabulous. Thank you everyone for joining us today, and I do wish you a very good rest of your week. Good day. Thank you.